Amazing. How about you?
Amazing. I cannot wait to listen to all the presentations today. So I feel really, really great. Okay, so let's see. Let us wait. First, so for the first presenter, it will be Miss Anissa Hafisa Gamal, which she's already here. Okay. And then next we have Miss Noviani Rebecca Manafe and Miss Helen Amelia Napu Amalo. Are Miss Novriani and Miss Helen here yet? Not yet, I think. And then we have Miss Anna and Miss Patrick. Okay. So before we start, would Miss Anissa or Miss Anna would like to check the share screen button first, just to make sure?
Okay, let me try.
Okay. Okay. So Miss Anissa. Okay. Okay. Now you can share yours, Miss Anna. All right. Okay, so I think both are working. I'm glad. So maybe we can start now. We can wait for Ms. Nafreni and Ms. Helen later. All right, so I think we can start. Right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to room 2 of parallel session 4 of LLTC 2022. My name is Maria, and I will be the PIC of this room. I will also act as the timekeeper and will be reminding the presenter verbally 2 minutes before the time is up. Now, because there's a change of rule, in this parallel, each team will have 15 minutes to present, and the Q&A session will be at the end of all the presentations. And I will lead the Q&A session. Now, each presentation will be moderated by the next presenter. Without further ado, let us begin with the first presentation by Ms. Anissa Hafisa Gamal, which will be moderated by Ms. Anna. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we will start the first presentation with Ms. Anissa. So the presentation entitled Developing Multimedia for EFL Classrooms in Indonesia Using ID Model, a Literature Review. And it will be delivered by Ms. Anissa Hafisah Gamal from Universitas Riau, Indonesia. Ms. Anissa Hafisah Gamal, you may have your time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Anna. I will share my presentation right now. Okay, is my slide visible? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anissa Hafisah Gamal. I'm from Universitas Riau, and in this opportunity, I would like to present my research about developing multimedia for EFL classrooms in Indonesia using ADI model, and it is a literature review. So for the introduction, developments in computer and communication technology have led to the emergence of graphical education as a form of multimedia learning. This is based on Mayer 2014, who is the founder of this kind of theory, multimedia learning. And multimedia has become increasingly used to help learning and cognition. It is used by teachers to design more vibrant and engaging language classes. And in developing educational products and other learning resources, using an ADI model is one of today's most effective tools as it serves as a guiding framework for complex situations based on Branch 2010. So the objective of this research is to explore the literature related to the development of multimedia using the ADI model for EFL classrooms in Indonesia. And this is the methodology of this research. We set the inclusion criteria in selecting the suitable literature, which are peer-reviewed journal articles available on online databases such as Google Scholar and ERIC. And also it is nationally accredited journal articles published in recent years, 2017 and 2022. So as a result, 10 nationally accredited articles were chosen to be analyzed. For the discussion, these topics. First one is using multimedia for youth. Year to 14 multimedia alongside new technological advancement and theories of learning, the area of multimedia learning and cognition has also grown. And many researchers have conducted research elaborating the advantages using multimedia technology in English learning. Some of them are activates learning enthusiasm, optimizes the traditional teaching model, promotes students to cultivate innovative thinking, increases information capacity in classroom teaching, and it also develops students' communicative competence and provide opportunities for students to learn outside the classroom. And we are going to talk about the use of ID model in developing multimedia for EFL classrooms. So ID model is one of the most effective tools in developing educational products and other learning resources. So what is ID model? It stands for analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate. So in ID model, every step of the ID model can be repeated until it meets the expectation of the researcher or the objective of the development process. As you can see in the chart, you can repeat the process until it meets the objective. So Dong 2021 mentioned that using ID can be a resource-intensive process, and also it requires time to devote to designing and developing new content. So in the 10 reviewed literature that conducted research in developing multimedia by using ID model, one paper used only the 3 first steps of ID model, while 9 others used all of the stages. So we are going to talk about the recent studies in Indonesia. The first one is for listening classrooms. So Irawan 2021, Purwana and Sham 2021, and Zaim et al. 2020 attempted to design and develop multimedia-based English listening materials using the 5 stages of ID model. So the outcome of the research, Irawan 2021 and Purwana and Sham 2021 had EXE or application in computer and worksheet in the form of CD, while Zaim et al. 2022 had an Android application as the final product of the research. And all the research findings that show developed multimedia are valid, practical, and can be used for listening activities. And the second one is developing multimedia for reading in EFL classrooms. We have 4 research here. Rahman 2020, Sari et al. 2021, Setiawan 2021, and Sofian et al. 2019. And they students' achievement and assess and can be used to assess their reading comprehension. So the third one is developing videos for EFL classrooms. The development of video for EFL classrooms was found in two articles, Purwanti et al. 2022 in university level and Supriyanti 2020. However, Supriyanti only followed the ADD stages, indicating that the ADDI model is incomplete. So the result shows that Purwanti developed videos that contain authentic interaction-based video clips to learn request and apology speech art, while Supriyanti developed the prototype product of the cartoon animation video. And both of these video development was rated by expert and got a good result from the experts. Okay, the last one is the multimedia for vocabulary. This research is administered by Bulan and Idar in 2021, who attempted to develop a media that helps students in vocabulary mastery. And the researcher developed the noun words domino card, which received a very feasible score from the experts. And it showed that this multimedia was effective in improving the students' vocabulary mastery. So as the conclusion, in the reviewed articles, 10 nationally accredited articles, the ADDI model has been used to develop multimedia for EFL classrooms at various levels, elementary to university levels. And most of the articles showed the successful development and implementation of the media used in EFL classrooms. The multimedia, such as worksheets, websites, applications, cards, and videos, are mostly rated highly by the experts. And it is expected that in the future, that more research is conducted using ADDI model to develop more interesting and helpful multimedia to be used in EFL classrooms in Indonesia. So I think that's all for my presentation. Thank you for listening and for your kind attention. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good
Okay.
afternoon.
Thank you, Ms. Anissa, for delivering such a insightful presentation, about the development of the multimedia using ADDI model. And from your presentation, I can conclude that ADDI model has been used to develop multimedia for EFL classrooms at various levels, and also it shows the successful development and the implementation. Okay, once again, thank you, Ms. Anissa, and congratulations. I'm giving back the time to TPIC.
Thank you, Ms. Anissa and Ms. Hannah. Now, let us proceed to the next presentation, which will be delivered by Ms. Novriani Rebecca Manafe and Ms. Helen Amelia Napu Omalo, which will be moderated by Ms. Anissa. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. So we move on to the second presentation today by Ms. Novriani and Ms. Helen, which the title is a preliminary study on Kupang Malay connectors. And for Ms. Novriani and Ms. Helen, time is yours.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anissa. Let me introduce myself. Am I audible enough, everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so my name is Novriani Rebecca Manafe from Universitas Nusa Cendana in Kupang. So today I'd like to share some of my research entitled A Preliminary Study on the Kupang Malay connectors. So first of all, allow me to share my screen. Okay, so basically, Kupang Malay is a Creole-based language, very much influenced by the Dutch, the Portuguese, and English, with the vocabularies from different local languages adding into the language itself. So this is the language spoken around the city of Kupang and the surrounding areas. So at the moment, the speakers of this Malay-based Creole is nearly 150,000. This is the data from Grimes 20 years ago, so the numbers are now increasing. Okay, so the problems of the research are finding out the types of Kupang Malay connectors found in the book of Joseph, the translated versions of the Bible in Kupang Malay language, and also what are the functions of those connectors. Okay, is on Kupang Malay language are based on basically our linguistic studies. So for example, the naturalness in Kupang Malay language, and then the unique features of Kupang Malay presented by Jahim, and other studies as well. But as long as I'm concerned, there is no existing studies on connectors so far. Okay, so this is the book, the translated version of the book of Joseph, the story of Joseph from the Genesis 37, 39 to 50. So this is the object of the research, and the type of the study is documentary analysis. The book itself is published by Unit Bahasa dan Budaya, Center for Language and Culture of the local church. Okay, so this is the result from this book. There are 24 connectors, or let's say articles, that are presented in the book. So these are those articles. So basically, Kupang Malay is not that different from Bahasa Indonesia. So the words here, the connectors here are basically Indonesian with some modifications. So for example, we have the word abis, but with different intonation, of course. Ais itu, ais ju, andai kata, andia, andiako, asal, begini, biar begitu, biar karmana, dan begitu. Jadi, ju, kalau, koma, na, sama ke, sampai, tagal, takuju, tarus, and waktu. So some are similar in forms with Bahasa Indonesia. Okay, and then we come to the functions of the language, the connectors. So first of all, introducing cause and effect. So the example that we can see here, the use of the article andiako. So andiako, dia sayang Sang Yusuf lebih dari dia pun anak-anak lain dong. So the English translation is andiako is translated as that's why he loved Joseph more than his other children. That's the first one. And the second one, explaining conditions and events. So asal jang bikin berdarah sang dia. So it's translated as long as you don't hurt him, or as long as you don't spill his blood. The next one, connect contrasting events. So the previous, the sentence here is biar karmana ju potong sen bisa sambungi de pundara. So the translation, the English translation of this is biar karmana is translated as however, we can't hide his blood. Okay, the next one is introducing examples of statements. So these are examples. The sentence is sama ke darah kayu wangi, bumbu-bumbu, dan obat macam-macam. So sama ke is translated as such as, which is used to introduce examples. So such as mere spices and warm, or such as bloodwood fragrant, flavor. So this is a literal translation. Next one, explanation or equivalence of events. Here we have the word andia, and the examples here is, the translation is namely, the names and then the articles. Conclusion, introducing conclusion. The sentence is Deng begitu, Yusuf jadi orang besar di tanah Mesir. So the translation is like Deng begitu is translated into thus, or the sentence here is thus Joseph became a great man in the land of Egypt. The next is the use of Aisju. Aisju, dong tawar Sang Yusuf bilang. The English translation after that is the English translation of Aisju. So the sentence in English is after that, they want Joseph and they say blah, blah, blah. Okay, so those are the functions and the connectors that are found from the translated book of the story of Joseph. So
sudah kuduga, Cok.
Bukan 4 ya.
Iya.
my recommendation,
Selalu aku join dong, Cok.
Tapi ada akun gimana?
okay, my recommendation is that there should be more studies conducting on Upang Malay, because there are many aspects that are not elaborated yet from this Creole-based language.
Wih, sekarang
Thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation. Back to you, moderator.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Noviani, for the insightful presentation. It's amazing how diverse Indonesian language are. And thank you very much. So the next, I will go back to the PIC room. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Anissa and Ms. Novriani. Okay, so that we will go to the next presentation. Okay. The next presentation will be delivered by Ms. Anna Patricia Derianti and Ms. Patricia Angelina, which will be moderated by Ms. Novriani. Okay, time is yours.
Okay.
Thank you very
so-
much, Miss Maria. Oh, Miss,
Okay,
sorry.
that's all right, Miss Patricia. Okay, thank you, Miss Maria, for the opportunity. For the last session of this presentation in room 2, we're having Miss Patricia and friend to deliver their presentation under the title Students Literacy Development in the Book Report class of ELESP. So the screen is yours, Miss Anna Patricia Derianti and Miss Patricia Angelina from Sanata Dharma University.
Thank you. Allow me to share my screen.
Yes, thank you very much, Bu Novriani, for being our moderator. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In this afternoon, please allow me to introduce myself first. My name is Patricia Angelina, and in this fine occasion, me and my partner, Ms. Anna Patricia Derianti, would like to present our paper entitled Students Literacy Development in the Book Report class of ELESP. So first of all, we would like to start from the research background. We were intrigued to conduct research on this topic because we would like to find out about three things. The first one, we would like to see or to find out about the students' enjoyment of reading literary compared to non-literary works. And then the second one, because we want to find out if the students in the book report class in our study program develop their literacy skills in that course. And then the last reason is to find out whether the students achieve the stated learning objectives in the book report class. And from this research background, we formulated two research questions. The first one is, what are the learning activities that are conducted in the book report class? And the second research question is, what are the learning activities that develop the students' literacy skills in the book report class? In this study, we have three definitions of terms that we constantly use. Yeah, the first one is about literacy. It is the ability to understand something based on the context. And then the second one is ELESP, which stands for English Language Education Study Program. It is one of the study programs in the Faculty of Teachers Training in Sanata Dharma University. And then the last one is book report class. It is a reading course, which is obligatory and offered in the second semester. And then the next one is about the theories that we use. We have two research questions, and to answer the first research question, we take the metacognitive concepts from Flavel. He divides into 4 types. The first one is metacognitive knowledge. Second one is metacognitive experiences. And the third one is tasks and goals. And the last one is metacognitive strategies. As for the second research question, we employed the self-regulation theory from Zimmerman, which is divided also into 4. The first one is by doing observation and then emulative. And then students start to have self-control. And as the last final stage, students start to have the self-regulation. The next one about method will be presented by my partner. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pat. Now for the research methodology. For the research method, we employed qualitative research using descriptive design. And then for the research setting, the study was conducted in the book report A class of ELESP, and the data collection was conducted from February the 21st until April the 4th, 2022. And for the research participants, there are 34 students on a second semester book report A class. So for the research instruments, there are 2 instruments here. The first one is interview, and then the second is documents. The interview consisted of 8 open-ended questions, and for the documents consisted of book report, course syllabus, and students' daily journals. And then in analyzing the data, we use coding to analyze the data from the interview, and we use content analysis to analyze the data from the documents. And for the research results and discussion, so the results of the first research questions, which is what are the learning activities conducted in book report class, there are 3 learning activities. The first one is extensive reading. This is the main activity in the book report class, and in this activity, students were required to read literary and non-literary works, which can be fiction or non-fiction. And then the second activity is daily journals. In this activity, students were not only required to write a short summary, but also to share how they felt or their thoughts after doing the extensive reading. And the last activity is literature circle. This is the activity where students are expected to discuss and present their readings in a small group that has the same interest in a particular topic or their favorite genre. And then for the results of the second research questions, which is what are the learning activities that develop students' literacy, there are 5. The first one is using different book formats and story genre preferences. So the use of electronic and print formats affects students' understanding of the reading. And the results show that students prefer to read using print formats because they tend to be more focused and comfortable while reading. And then for the story preferences, the results show that older students demonstrate enthusiasm to read the one that assigned by the lecturer. The fact is that students were more engaged with the reading of their own choosing. And then second, reading many books that enhances writing skills. So the interview results showed that the students in the book report class were aware of the situation. Participant 1 mentioned that he had not read a lot of book yet to claim that his writing skills were improving, but he recognized one of his friends who loved to read many books managed to write well. And then third, writing daily journals to improve reading comprehension. The students in the book report class were all agree with the situation. Participant 2 shared his personal experience that before he ever knew and wrote daily journals, it will be easier for him to forget about the story that he just read. And writing the daily journals helped him remember the story over a long period. And then fourth is presenting and discussing the reviews of literary and non-literary works. So the interview results showed that the majority of the students stated that they managed to perform better in presenting and discussing the story of their own choosing. Participant 2 and participant 4 mentioned that the literature circle was more interactive and less boring when they discussed the different stories of their own choosing. And then the last one is implementing the literary and or non-literary works in daily life. So the interview result showed that reading opens many things that may inspire them that later can be implemented in their daily life. Participant 4 stated that she read to express her feelings, and participant 2 mentioned that reading many books influenced him to become a novelist. And then in conclusion and recommendation, so the first one for the conclusions, the answer of the first research questions is that there are 3 learning activities conducted in book report class. And then the answer of the second research questions is that there are 5 learning activities that help students develop their literacy skills. And as the final result, the learning activities improve students' reading and writing skills. And then for the recommendations, first, for the book report lecturers and ELSP. So it is suggested for the lecturers to use novels instead of short story for the book report class, because novels provide a lot more characters with in-depth background stories and longer narratives compared to the short stories, which can help the students to be more critical, creative, and imaginative. And then second is for future researchers. So due to a number of limitations in this study, it is possible for future researchers to discuss more information related to literacy skills, such as how significant the literary or non-literary works affect literacy skills, and how reading might aid students in understanding their writing styles. All right, so we have now come to the end of our presentation. Thank you for your attention, and we would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the insightful presentation from Ms. Anna Patricia and Ms. Patricia Angelina from Sanata Dana University. For the next session, back to you, Ms. Maria.
Thank you very much for all the insightful presentations. Now we are entering the Q&A session for all presenters, which will last for 15 minutes. Please mention your name, affiliation, to whom the question is addressed, and what the question is. So if anyone wants to ask a question, then you can write it in the chat box. You can raise your hand, or you can also open your microphone. Yes, Ms. Patricia.
Thank you for the chance. Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to ask Miss Anissa, yeah. Miss Anissa, because I am also interested in materials development. So I have conducted several research, and then in 2 of them, I use the ADDIE models. So because in your opinion, I would like to ask, in your opinion, is there any downside to ADDIE models? And if there is any, can you propose some ways on how to overcome that disadvantage or downside of the ADDIE model? Thank you.
Okay, Miss Patricia, thank you very much for the questions. So in my paper related to ADDIE model for development and multimedia development, the downside or the disadvantage of using the ADDIE model is it takes too long. I mean, it consumes a lot of time because there are 5 stages. If one stage is not it doesn't meet your expectation, you have to retry the stage again. So, I mean, the complexity of the stages is the downside of the ADDIE model. So, if I am allowed to give a suggestion in using ADDIE model, it is important for us to make sure one stage is completed completed before we move on to the next stage. For example, like the analyze stage, where we analyze the needs of the students and the classroom, we have to make sure that we analyze it thoroughly so that we do not have any issue when we move on to the next stage. So I think that's really important to complete one stage and before we move to the next stages. So I think that's my answer, Ms. Patricia. If you have any comments about that, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Anissa. I completely agree that time is always the biggest concern, yeah, because if we want to be perfect, then we will be stuck. We will be stuck, yeah, after we get feedback, and then we would like to improve again based on the feedback, and then we have to redo the certain stage all over again. But sometimes when I conducted the research using the ADDIE model, I was limited by time. So there was a period, yeah, in which I already have to submit the paper, yeah. So at that time, I couldn't finish all the ADDIE cycles, and as a result, I only stopped at a certain stage. Yeah. So, do you have any suggestion if we are limited by factors from outside? Yeah, not because we do not want to make the very fine model at the end, but because of other factors. Then, can you give a suggestion on what to do?
Okay, so in my reviewed paper, actually there is one paper that does not complete the process like 5 stages. She only complete 3 stages due to the time limitation. So I think it's important to set a timeline for those activities. What should you do first, and then we'll refer to that timeline so that we can complete the research on time. Of course, there will be a lot of distractions, like you may encounter any problems in the middle of the stages, but in my opinion, it's important to make a timeline for the research. I think that's my answer, Ms. Patricia.
Yeah, thank you so much, Miss Anissa. And perhaps we can also give in the recommendation part or in the suggestion part, yeah, the limitation of our research, so that perhaps it can be continued by other researcher or perhaps ourselves if we still have the fun, the time and energy to continue, yeah, to complete the process. Yes, thank you very much, Miss Anissa. for the answer.
Thank you, Miss Patricia.
Is there any other question that would like to be asked? We still have around 10 minutes.
Excuse me, Miss. I want to ask,
Yes.
related to Miss Patricia and Miss Anna's presentation. The result is that there is a improvement in writing skills, right? So I want to ask, in what form of writing does the improvement show? Because maybe I missed that information. I'm not sure. Can you please elaborate that? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Miss Anissa, for the questions. Well, actually, because in the book report class, as I explained before, that the main activity is extensive reading. Yeah, so the students are given time to read their the book assigned by the lecturers and the one that they choose for themselves. And then during the data collection, the interview, yeah, the participants shared that before reading books, they tend to just, for example, if they have to write something, they only write to the point, yeah. So for example, in a simple sentence, in a short, simple sentence, and after reading, because reading helps them to improve their knowledge, increase their knowledge with the vocabulary, the diction, or maybe the what is it, stylistic in writing purchased by the author, then those influence the students to later in the other learning activities, which is daily journals. They realize that the more they wrote their daily journals, they tend to write in a longer sentence. For example, if they want to explain about the characters, or they want to share how they felt after reading the story, they tend to write in a longer sentence and use, for example, diction and vocabulary, something like that.
Okay, thank you very much for the answer, Miss.
You're welcome.
So I think for the next question, I would like to ask Ms. Nofriani. It's regarding the data analysis. So how much time did you spend to do all the steps? And the second question is, I think, how did you triangulate the data? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question, Ms. Maria. So your questions regarding the period that we conducted the research. So the research itself was conducted for about 3 months, because this is only documentary analysis. So it was about 3 months. And then the data taken from the book was analyzed based on the theories, and also
I think there's an internet problem with Ms. Nofriani. Okay. While waiting, is there any other question? If not, I think I have a question for Ms. Anna and Ms. Patricia. In book report, would you consider maybe using other online reading websites to be implemented in book report class?
Thank you, Miss Maria, for the question. Of course, nowadays, the students are always changing, yeah, and then these nowadays, the use of technology has rapidly increased, including in the teaching and learning process. So because as teachers, we have to be up to date, with what the technology offers and also what the students are interested in, because we know that students will be much more interested in reading if they like the topic. Yeah, so I believe that we should always consider to use the online sources as well. As best as we can, we try to facilitate, students' interests, what do they like right now, and then still connected with the objectives of the book report class, so that we can still meet the objective, achieve the objective, but we also deliver the materials in a way that the students are interested in, so that the learning and teaching can run effectively. Thank you.
Thank you for the answer, Miss Patricia. Okay, so maybe I do have one more question for Miss Anissa to end the session. Would you mind telling us the obstacles you found along the way while doing the research?
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Maria. So this is a literature review research paper, and the difficulty is there is limited papers related to the development of multimedia in Indonesia using ADI model. It's really difficult to find a lot of papers related to this topic. So we only found like 10 papers. That's the maximum number of papers that we gathered throughout the process. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I think that concludes our parallel session.
Miss Maria, do we
Yes.
still have time?
Yes, we do. We still have
Okay.
time.
I still want to ask a little bit to Miss Anissa, because
Okay,
of
Miss.
because of the same research interest that we have. So,
All
Miss
right, thanks.
Anissa, please allow me to ask again a little bit about the ID model, ID model that we usually use in R&D. Do you think that there are other options other than ADI? Because if I do research, then most research in R&D will always use ADI models, as the models that they use. Do you have any other, perhaps more simplified model that is more beneficial for people or for researchers with limited time, like what we have discussed before? ADI is very comprehensive, but the downside of ADI model is that it is very time consuming. So if we are limited by time, then there is a possibility that we cannot complete the cycle. We can stop in the middle, and thus our research results will not be as what we have expected. So is there any other model that allows us to complete the materials development within a limited time? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Patricia, for that question. Well, actually, ADI model is the simplest, compared to other. It might take time, but it has the least stages. And the advantages of ADI model is that we do not, if we find a problem, we still can go back to that stage and revise our process again. Well, actually, there is another one called Bloom and Gagne, if I'm not mistaken, that's how we pronounce it, Gagne 9 events that is usually used by teachers at school to make their lesson plan. There are 9 stages and there are 9 steps in this model. Even though it's 9, it's more. There are a lot of stages. The teacher at school are familiar with this one. 9 events of Gagne. So, in my opinion, ADDIE model, even though it seems complicated, I think this one is the most convenient one because we do not need to complete all before we revise, but we can revise in each stages of this process of the process. I think that's my answer, Ms. Leticia. If you have any opinion about that.
Yeah. No, I completely agree because I also chose ADDIE model because of its flexibility. Yeah, the other models I think it's quite strict because we cannot proceed to the next step if we haven't done a series of things to do. Yeah, but with ADDIE it is very flexible. We can go back and forth. Well, I think it's both advantage and disadvantage. Yeah, the advantage is because we can go back and forth, so it is very flexible. There is no strict steps to follow, but the downside is that our need to be perfect. If we want to be perfect, then we will have to revisit over and over and over again, and that might take a lot of time, which in some cases we do not have. Yeah, so like what I've shared before from personal experience, it's always there's a limitation. Outside factors like the funding have to be we have to make the report and the financial report, right, within a semester or 1 year. And sometimes if we use the ADDIE model, it takes more than that if we want to really perfect our learning model at the end. Yeah, so yeah, I kind of agree with you. And I just would like to find out if maybe I am not updated. Is there any other newest model which is newer than ADDIE but more simplified, maybe? Yeah, so that I can try to use that model and maybe compare it with ADDIE. Yeah, this can be research idea for the next research. Yeah, so we compare ADDIE model with another model, perhaps the newer one. Yeah, because if it is the older one, we already know. That's why we chose ADDIE, right, instead of the older ones. But maybe if we know the newer version or new experts proposing new models, then we can conduct a study on the comparison. And then at the end, we can try to use the other model. Thank you very much, Miss Anissa. Really
Thank
grateful for your opinion.
Yeah, thank you, Miss.
Okay, Miss Anna, would you like to say?
Yes, I want to ask to Miss Anissa. Well, previously on your conclusion, it is written that this ADDIE model in development of multimedia for EFL, you stated that this rises the high level of validity and practicality. Do you have a particular or the exact level or stages in this validity or practicality, or because I'm still confused on this statement, high level of validity and practicality, on how much high this level is? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Anna. So actually, I just refer to the literature. So they use kind of different level of validity, reliability from different, like some use high to very high, or some use good to very good, like that. I just refer to that, and it's based on each literature. They're different, but they are rated by the experts. So just that information I get from the literature.
Okay, so it's the like a general level or stages, yeah.
Yes, based on the literature. We do not try to make them the same standard like that. We do not do that in the literature review. So we just refer and quote from that. I hope it answered your question, Ms. Anna. Thank you.
Yes, yes, it does. Thank you, Miss Anissa.
Okay, thank you. We have 4 minutes left. Is there any other questions that wanted to be asked? This might be the last chance, but of course, you can ask each other's phone numbers, I guess, to ask more details after LLTC. But for now, is there any more? No. Okay. I think that concludes our parallel session because we only have 3 more minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe. Now we have finished our parallel session. After this, please kindly leave this breakout room and return to the main room for the plenary session. Thank you very much for the fruitful discussion and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Miss Maria, especially Miss Anissa. Anna, thank you. Miss Nur Hafni, thank you. Miss Pika, thank you. And operator room 2, thank you. See you
Thank
in
you.
main, yeah.
See you.
See you in main room.
Thank you.